Okay, so hello everyone. Today we'll be solving and discussing questions of Leetcode Weekly Contest 382. So, and we'll be discussing the first three problems. So let's start by understanding the first question itself. So the first question is number of changing keys. So in the question it is given that you would be given a string s and which is typed by the user. Now changing a key is defined as using a key different from the last key used. For example, s equals to AB, it has a change of key, while s equals to B, capital B and small b does not have. So return the number of times the user had to change the key. So let me just explain you the problem a little bit. So problem is saying that you will be given a string s. Now the string s can be consisting of both the characters, small characters as well as capital characters. So for example, if the string is like assume a b b capital B and small a, so it is saying that a change is defined in such a way if the letter has itself changed. So what is changing the letter by, it means that if the letter has changed from a to b or from b to c. However, it is also mentioned that a letter, if it is changing from capital small b to capital B or vice versa, it is not considered as a change of key. These all cases are would be considered. So basically, A to capital B is also considered as a change of key. I hope you got that. So you have to just output the number of times the key was changed. So it's just a simple question. So how I did, I would just explain you my code. So what I did was I traversed the string, and let's say if the string is like this, so I traverse till the n minus 1th character. So this is the 0 to n minus 2 characters, and this is why I did, because I had to check for I and I plus 1 position, so just to avoid runtime errors. So what I did was, since I knew that changing from small a to capital A was not considered as a change of key, and just changing a letter, like it can be changing from A to capital B or capital B to small c, these are considered as change of key. So what I did was I converted both the characters into small lowercase letters, right? So as we know that ASCII characters of small case, that is A to Z, that starts from 97 to 122, correct? And the ASCII values of capital A, it starts from 65, if I'm not wrong. Yes, it starts from 65. So what I did was, if it's a capital value, right, so I added a value of 32, which changes it to 97. So I did it for both capital A, both characters A and B. Here A and B is not necessarily small a and small b, it is just a character variable. So if it is not equal, so I added in the answer, returned the answer. So I hope you got it. That was an easy question. So let's move on to the second problem. I think yes, the second problem was a nice problem. I had to think of there was like a small edge case here also, which you had to think. So because of which I also received the wrong answer, but I will show you like. So the question is saying that you would be given a nums array, right? Which is a positive integers array, and what you need to do is that you need to select elements in from the array. So basically, if the array is given and you have to select some parts of the array and place it into a new array, correct? So basically, if you would be given an array like this, you have to pick up some elements and form subset. So subset is basically any combination from the array. It can be even empty, okay? But here it is mentioned that you have to pick up a subset such that it follows this pattern. Now what is this pattern? This, if you carefully observe, it is saying that the pattern is uh, if the first number is x, the second number would be x square, the third number would be x4 to the power 4. fifth number would be what? X to the power 8, right? Because it is the any number, it is square of its previous number, right? So that's how the number is written. So x8 would be what? X to the power 4 whole square, right? I hope you got this. And likewise you have to proceed. Okay, if you also notice, there is a like break point here. So what is a break point? So if example, if I assume x to the power 8 to be break point, then the further corresponding numbers will be what? X to the power 4, like a mirror image. If you are able to relate mirror image, x to the power 4, the corresponding further numbers will be x square and x. So if I write just it properly, so if you start a number x, second would be x square, third would be x to the power 4, the fourth would be x to the power 8, fifth would be x to the power 16. And if you are able to find a breakpoint, so it's not necessarily that you have to extend to all the numbers. So basically you have to find till you have to go to such a power such that if it's ascending like in this way, then you have to also descend, and corresponding elements should also match, right? Okay, these all elements should also match. So since if I assume that x to the power 16 can be a breakpoint, I find x to the power 8 as corresponding to this value, x to the power 4 to be a corresponding to this value, and x to the power 2 to be corresponding to this value, and likewise x x to be corresponding to this value, correct? Now what I needed to do was I hope you got this part right. What is the question trying to say? Now the question is, in this you have to, so how would you basically approach this problem, right? So the thought process which I used was, since I needed to, so if you just carefully observe the pattern, for the half of the pattern you have to just, what you need to find, if there is a number existing here, so you have to find a number which is a square of its which is perfect square of its number. So if you just carefully see, a to the power x power 8 is a perfect square of x to the power 4, right? If you see x to the power 16, it's a perfect square of x to the power 8. Similarly, if you see x square, it is a perfect square of x. So it is never possible that, for example, let's say 17, it's not a perfect square of any number. So you can't like correlate. So basically what I'm trying to say is that I would try to form a chain. For example, if there is an x square and there is an x, right? At this moment I don't know what is the value of x, but assume that there are two values, x square and x. So if there are two values, x square and x, now what I would try to do is that I would try to correlate this x square with x, and try to form a pattern like x square, x and x, right? Because I would imagine that this is now the break point. So basically I hope you remember the idea of finding the break point as in here. So if I assume that x square is a break point, then what I need to do is that I need to find a I will need to find a perfect square root which is x here, such that there exists two corresponding x values such that I can correlate like this. So for example, if I just proceed in this manner, so for example, if there is an x square and I tell, okay, I can correlate it with x, right? And I can form a pattern like this. Now what if I, in the next time I find a number x to the 4, what can I do is that I can just say I will just relate it to 2x squares, right? And I would what I would try to do is that basically I would now try to use the previous change, because what I need to do is to maximize the number of elements, right? Maximizing the number of elements. So to do so, I would try to insert this x power 4 here. So now this would be converted into, just let me show you this one. So now this pattern would be converted into x, right? X square. Now since I found uh, also x was already there. Now since I found the x power 4 extra, what I would do is that I would now try to place x power 4 with also an extra of x to the power 2. Okay, if it is possible. I am not telling that it would always be possible to find an extra x power 2, but if it is possible, I would try to make and form a chain like this. So for every element in the array, I would try to is that I would find a breakpoint. Imagine that this is the breakpoint. I hope you got what I'm trying to say. If this is a breakpoint, if you're trying to correlate with this part, then this can be a breakpoint, right? So what I try to do is that I find a breakpoint for every point by considering every element, and then I try to figure out like which was his previous square root element, and I try to figure if there is an extra x per square, I would add that. So similarly, if you just proceed with this, okay, since you need to try to maximize this, what you can do is that if you form a number, okay, so you don't know what is x, right? So if you form a number, found a number, let's say it's a y, okay. Now don't just imagine any, let's say it was a y, and now you found its square root. So if it's square root of y, right, if it's square root of y, that is equals to x power 4. So you, hooray, you found a new number, right? Because you can just insert this y here. So let me just show you the series. It would be x square, x power 4, right? This was initially x square here and x, right? So what I can do was that I can since I found a y, right, which is x to power 8. If x to power 4 is square root of y, therefore y is what, x to power 8. So I can just insert x to power 8 here with an additionally x to power 4 if it exists. If I'm able to do so, what I will do, I will try to maximize the chain, the previous length, by adding a 2. Okay, so I will just max the answer by this and form the whole array. So I hope you got my explanation. Just let me show you my code, it will be much more clearer. You can also see I got some wrong penalties here because there was some edge case which I will try to show you. So here what I did was first I in the map I took all the elements frequency and I stored it, right? Then I also initialized a DP map. So what I did was uh, just let me also take an example side by side, it will be much more clear. So if the example is 2 2, like if the array is 5 4, right, 1 2 2, if the array element is 5 4 1 2 2, right, what I did, I first maintained a map saying that these all elements have these all frequencies, and I hope my OBS is recording. Yes. So yeah, so what I did was, if I assume now that this is my breakpoint, right, this is my breakpoint. Okay, one more thing, like, and a single element can always be formed, right? A single element can always be formed with the number itself. So always like dp of every number should be 1. So what I did initially, I initialized dp of every number to be 1, right? Now what I did was, if the number is 2, right, so if this is the breakpoint, so if you imagine like this, so I would need to find an x if it exists, such that I can need to if I'm already also I'm able to find an extra x, such that I would what I would do, I would just add the previous dp length which was ending till x plus 2 elements, right, because I added 2 elements. So if it is a square root, like if this number is a square root, so is square root is what, is just checks whether it's a perfect square or not, you can see here. So if it is square root, then what I did, if there are 2 elements which exist of the square root, because I had to, like if there would be minimum 2, then I would be able to add this extra element. So what I did dp of number would be dp of square root plus 2. Otherwise, if I'm not able to add this number, so I would just maintain the previous length only. So it would be dp of number equals to 1. Also, I did not need to do this because I had already done here, but still, just for clarity purpose, I did this. Else, if it is not square root, I also initialize it with 1. At the end, I just took the maximum all the dp values. Now there was a little edge case. What if, because the numbers consisted of 1, let's say 2 2 square 2 4 2 8, some numbers were like this. So here according to you, answer like, if because the square root of 1, the like 1 is a perfect, since 1 is a perfect square of number of itself, so you have to handle this case separately. So what I did, I find out the value which was if 1 exists or not. So if it is an odd value, right, so I can just Assume the middle value to be a breakpoint and form a chain of length 5, like if it's odd, if it's odd and 5, and if it's, let's say, 4, I can't form a breakpoint, so I have to eliminate 1 and form a breakpoint like this. So if frequency is odd, so why I did f and 1, so if it's a very useful property, it also checks, like it is equivalent to checking if f mod 2 that is equals to 1. So you can just read this bitwise property, like there is a just simple explanation. Let me just show you to it very fast. So if a number is, let's say, 10110011 and something like this. Now if it is odd, you know, right, that this number has to be 1, because it starts with the power 2 to the power 0 to the 1. So if any number has to be 1, it has to, like, this bit has to be set. So if this bit has to be set, you can just check by and bitwise ending with 1. So if it is 1, you are sure that it's a odd number. So if it is odd number, I just take the that frequency, otherwise I eliminate one frequency and I maximize that, and at the end I return the answer. So I hope you got it. This was a nice problem which I found that, yeah, this required a little bit of thinking. And the third problem is an easy problem, Alice and Bob playing a flower game. So this is just a game which is happening. So let me just explain you what is the game. So basically, imagine that here is Alice and here is Bob. Okay, so it is said that there are X flowers in the clockwise direction between X and Bob. So if this is the clockwise direction, right? So there are X flowers here, and in the opposite direction there are Y flowers in the anti-clockwise direction. So what you needed to do was that you need to pick some flowers in the clockwise direction which should be in the range. So basically n and m are given. What are n and m? N and m are the ranges which the flowers have to be there. So for example, like if you can see, if you can just take this example, right, n equals to 3 and m equals to 2, so it says that Alice is here and Bob is here. So basically there would be 3 flowers, 1 2 3, and in the opposite direction there would be 1 and 2 flowers. Now you had to pick such elements as that the elements which you pick in the left one, like if the elements which you pick in this range, it should belong to range 1 to n, and the elements in this range should belong to 1 to m, right? So, and it is also said that you must pick such that you must find all the ways, like you have to find all the xy pairs such that Alice always wins the game. This is the important point. So I hope you got the question. So let's move on to the approach. So first thing is that, also, okay, I also forget one more thing, like how the game is proceeded is that first Alice moves, he can either choose the leftmost or rightmost direction, and he can choose any flower, right? Similarly, afterwards Bob moves, and Bob can choose either flower from this one or this one, like, and he removes the flower afterwards, right? Alice also removes the flower after moving his turn. Similarly, if and a player is and a player fails if he is not able to pick any flowers. So for Alice to win, and he's starting at the first position, so if this is the position, like Alice, Bob, Alice, so at end Alice should be able to pick the flower, right? So it's, the configuration should be like this, that Alice is moving at the end. So can you sorry, can you find out what is the number of flowers, total flowers, because n and m can be flowers on the both sides, so you just need to concentrate on the total flowers. So if total flowers for Alice to win should have been odd, right? Because why odd? Because if Alice moves first, then Bob moves, then Alice moves, then Bob moves, then Alice moves. If the number of flowers have to be ended or this way, then number of flowers should have been odd, right? Then only it is possible. You had to just check this, that if you are picking, let's say, one element, so how many odd numbers are there? Because odd plus odd, that is even, right? So this is wrong. So if you are picking odd elements, so you have to check how many even elements are there in the range 1 to m. Else, what can the other case? If you're picking an even element, then you have to find out what are the odd elements in the range 1 to m, and you just count the pairs. So just let me show you my code. It's an easy one. Okay, I also got a runtime error because I forgot to do a long. So I just did that. That initialize answer to be 0, and in the range 1 to m, if I'm picking I numbers, so what is this required even is just an implementation purpose. So if my I is even, so I would require an odd numbers, right? Otherwise I would require an even numbers else. So if my I is even, right? So if my I is odd, I just do a required even equals to true, otherwise required even equals to false. And in the ranges m, there are m by 2 odd and even numbers, and there is one more odd number if m is 1, so odd. So if let's say m is 5, so you can see here odd numbers are m by 2 plus 1, right? So if m is odd, and just I did and then I, if required even is true, I needed to count the even pairs, otherwise I needed to count the odd pairs. So yep, that was it, and I hope you got my explanation. Thank you. And also you can suggest in the comments, like if you got my explanation, you can also, you're open to suggest anything which you would like to improve, like from the next videos. And now I will be planning to consistently upload all the solutions videos, and you are just open to comment, and you would also open to comment whether I would switch to Hindi, or maybe would I do a mix of languages. So do consider liking and sharing and subscribing my channel too. Thank you.